Right, welcome back to the morning show here on Rise News, and let's go straight to it. Yep.
Bakr al-Baghdadi, the fugitive leader of the Islamic State, who was killed recently by the Delta Force of the U.S. military, is believed to have a significant influence on a faction of the terrorist group Boko Haram operating in Nigeria.
Now that IS leader Baghdadi is dead, critics are wondering if this faction will still remain as potent and violent in Nigeria and indeed West Africa.
Joining us to discuss the death of ISIS leader and the effect it has on Boko Haram is Onyekachi, Adekoya, security expert. Let's just go straight to it. Welcome to the show once again.
Thank you for having me.
Baghdadi, it was said that Boko Haram had been infiltrated, by IS and the ideology.
Yeah.
But with the death of Baghdadi, how is that going to change the fight?
So you need to understand that there's a bigger problem than al-Baghdadi's death that we have. It's that whole stretch of the Sahel. If you look at the map of Africa, when you come from Eritrea down to Mauritania, that whole Sahel belt, it's just after the desert, the Sahara Desert. So there's a number of terrorist groups operating within that belt.
Akim, Tuareg rebels.
Yeah, Al-Qaeda, you have the
Al-Qaeda, ISWAP
in West Africa. You have those operating in the Maghreb. Then you cast our minds back a bit to the death of Gaddafi and how that you had a lot of small and light arms weapons that just got proliferated within that belt. So I think that there's an entrenched network within the Sahel region which would not go away by the death of one person. So I don't think we should get ahead of ourselves.
Indeed, because when we talk about ISIS or ISIL, it's not about one man. It's about an ideology. Correct. So you wonder how the death of one man will impact the fight against terrorism. But let's look at the raid by the U.S. Is there anything we can learn? What can we learn by this raid from the U.S.? And more information coming out, how a blood sample and underwear of al-Baghdadi was used before and after the raid for confirmation. We're talking about the kennel units, the forensics. Hero dog, forensics, the intelligence. What can we really learn?
So first thing, I would like to say that the death of al-Baghdadi is very significant if you understand how he rose to power and position sometime in 2014 or 2015. He's more of the ideological leader because he was put in that position because he could write
but that's been debunked. That argument has been debunked.
Not necessarily.
That he wasn't the scholar a lot of people claimed he was. So because when you read ISIS by Gegis Fawaz, that has been debunked. Gegis Fawaz wrote about it.
So there's a position to take to say, yes, it has been debunked. However, he's not the militaristic kind of hardliner you have. He was more of an ideological leader. And the way ISIS would operate, initially, the way they used to operate was to have a semi-loose structure. You lay the principles and the groundwork, and you share all the scripts and the things they must do, and there are call-outs to people to take action. So if you take out an al-Baghdadi, you will slow their momentum momentarily until another person comes to office. Then he must then learn the ropes. Another thing is that when you take out Osama bin Laden and you take out al-Baghdadi, the next leader of any terrorist group will be pretty much preoccupied with his own personal security. To the point that he would not be as effective as he would have been if he had the free hands to. So very important. Now, what can we learn from the raid? So many things. So many things we don't have. You see that they went with 8 helicopters, 8 attack helicopters.
About 100 U.S. military.
So a good number of U.S. The numbers are here and there, but they had a good number of presence there. So you look at precision weapons, you look at intelligence, you look at collaboration. The guy was hiding in a territory that was pretty much covered by Russia. So there had to be collaboration between Turkey, Russia, then the Americans.
And the Kurds, the Americans led for slaughter.
You can make that argument. However, I think that to be fair to the Americans, they've been forced with a position to police the world, and it costs money. America has been in Afghanistan for almost 20 years now. It's cost them within the regions of $4 to $6 trillion to prosecute that war. And when the President of America comes and says, we cannot continue endless wars, the Kurds have a good part of Iraq where they can settle. The issues between the Kurds and the Turks have been there for ages. There's almost no end game. Now, I think, sorry, Kochi, I know you want to say something, but I think that the American president was, maybe we need to give him some credit. Some credit. He came out with a notion that they were pulling out to get the buy-in. Now, if you follow the run-up to that action, they had clear intelligence that he was there.
Yeah.
There was no way they would get into that territory without a buy-in from Russia. So I think that the American president had to offer something to Russia and offer something to Syria,
to Turkey,
to be able to Turkey, to get that level of cooperation needed to execute their number one priority. Again, we are nearing an election season for the president of America. So I think getting al-Baghdadi became key to him and very important to his own election bid. So I think we need to look at everything on towards the run-up of that event.
Yeah, because a lot of people were wondering why Turkey did not lead that raid. Why did Turkey not find al-Baghdadi, and it had to be U.S. that went in to that region to find out al-Baghdadi?
Somebody has to take the glory.
No, not so. You see, in the interplay of nations, sometimes some argue that perhaps Turkey knew he was there. Maybe the Russians knew he was there, but they needed some leverage. So maybe, perhaps, is an argument they make that maybe at the point of negotiations, al-Baghdadi was a card on the negotiations table.
Was a trump card.
A trump
So
card.
how does this all play out? So let's just not digress too much.
Yeah.
On the fight against Boko Haram for Nigeria, the president is busy traveling to several countries, soliciting help. We're buying helicopters from Russia.
Yeah.
We're in Saudi Arabia. We're also talking about Boko Haram.
Yeah.
The U.S. is also trying to come in on Boko Haram. We have all of these people. How does this help our fight and the death of al-Baghdadi? You're talking about things we are learning so far, or what we should learn so far.
Yes, so I think that...
Talked about collaboration?
Yes, collaboration is very important. And when I talk about collaboration, you look at how America collaborated with Russia and Syria and Turkey to some extent. Perhaps we hope to see a little bit more collaboration from our near neighbors.
Are we doing that with Cameroon?
Chad, northern part of Cameroon. Nigerians always position itself as a big brother, but we can see that the insurgency has persisted for such longer time.
10 years.
You begin to question the sincerity of the motives of our neighbors if they say they are helping us in this insurgency. Because Nigeria can really, truthfully, prosecute a war with Niger or Chad. But we're dealing with a ragtag army that seems to hop in and out and get into unprotected space, and they're almost giving some level of leeway to operate within certain areas. Because when you deal with issues of security, you're dealing with spaces and places. But when we talk naturally, we talk about people, but you don't look at the space element to the issue of insurgency.
Something just came to my head. I'm so sorry. I just had a brainwave. Do you think by this shutting of our borders, we can get more leverage from these countries? Because it looks as though it's hurting them. Ghana has been hurt. Other countries have been hurt. So by this shutting of our borders, how about Niger and all those guys, Chad? Do you think we get some leverage from them?
So I'd always say that I support the closing of the borders. I know there's an economic argument to make. However, I think that our neighbors have taken undue advantage of us for a long time, and this has to stop. The issues that Nigeria is complaining about is about a breach of protocols. Then you remember on set here, I talked about the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement and the use of origins of the goods in transit. Now, there are issues at the border that must be sorted out. On the case of Ghana, Ghana has been actively, since this administration, playing the role of an alternative to Nigeria. A number of companies are now moving out to Ghana to operate from Ghana into West Africa. So some of those issues are there. So listen, there are issues of interest, and hopefully maybe we can drive some conversations which is long overdue with our neighbors, perhaps.
Shaitan, want to pop in here?
I mean, we're still talking about collaborations. You know, Adekoya mentioned the use of DNA, which in Nigeria in 2019, we still don't have forensics. You know, it's a very big part of the fight. Also talking about the canine units, the dog that is making the rounds, who was able to, I guess, sniff him out and follow him down the tunnel.
Yes.
Those kind of things, why are we not looking into the fight?
I'm not sure we have enough time to go into what we have and what we don't have, but I can tell you that there's a forensic lab in Lagos. There are a number of those installations coming now. In terms of training is another issue you really need to look at. We are not anywhere near the level of sophistication of those Delta commandos that went in to conduct a surgical strike. You know, you look at what do we learn. We created 4 operating bases at the time in the Northeast, but they didn't have the cover of a superior air force or the operational visibility of drones or killer drones.
I mean, so we can talk about this, but definitely one thing is certain, we'll still have you back.
Yes, please.
To have an in-depth analysis. I mean, that brings us to the end of the show today. What a great show.
Thank you so much for coming. I am Adekoya Omoruan.
I'm Rafai Yoseni.
And I'm Sheto Atigari. Thank you for watching. From my entire team here in Lagos, enjoy the rest of your morning and, of course, the rest of your day. Goodbye.